like all the time, like when a new regulation that's that's targeting blockchain come into place, it's always a bad news because we are out of the gray zone. So suddenly it's there is a light in the room, so we can see how dirty the room is. But at least we are able to walk the room without hitting our knees and so on. So that's all right.
So, hey everyone, welcome to what I guess is going to be our first news episode. We have with us today Jerome De Tychey, who is the CEO of Cometh and also president of Ethereum France.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
So today we're going to be talking about a pretty big topic here in France that will no doubt be having an impact on Web3 in France and probably at large, and that is JONUM.
Yeah.
So
first off, it will definitely have an impact in France, but also in the short run in Europe as well. If you've been following the space, France has been at the forefront of regulation regarding Web3 activities, and they started with an ICO framework back in 2016-17, and then they switched to Digital Asset Service Provider License, so DASP or PSAN in French. And those approach, those frameworks has been adopted at the European level. So definitely the JONUM law in France is going to have an impact because it serves as a prototype for the European law.
okay.
So JONUM, it's an acronym for Jeux à objet numérique monétisable. Let's try to translate that in English. So games with digital assets that you can monetize.
Yeah.
Or tradable digital assets. Game with tradable digital assets. Let's not spend too much time on this. I'm pretty sure the lawmakers will find a cool acronym in English as well. And it's a new category of games that is being defined by the law. And people have to consider that games are a big deal in most of the democracies and most of the states actually. Typically, a state tends to regulate games as in, is it a gambling? Is it not gambling? Is it just a video game with a story and a medium you consume, as you would consume a movie or as you would consume a music album? So in most countries, you have an authority that regulates games and that classify games. And when you publish a new game, whether it is a video game or something else, you tend to be regulated under certain circumstances. So typically, if you want to be in the gambling business, like you want to create a roulette, for example, or a traditional casino stuff, as a video game or as something that you propose online to anyone, you get regulated by the authority where you are incorporated in, and also potentially you have to make sure that you're not letting access to children, and not letting access to people that have a certain behaviors with addiction to games and so on. So this JONUM creation is part of a broader regulation in France that was discussed for the past 6 to 7 months. It's actually trying to regulate how life online is being handled by the content creators.
Okay.
So it aims at being more giving more protection to youngsters when it comes to accessing adult-related content. So typically porn websites and also gambling website and so on. So in the middle of this whole discussions, the JONUM popped out. Like, is certain Web3 games, are certain Web3 games actually gambling? Should we consider them as something like gambling, or should we consider them as something else? And that's how the JONUM framework started to emerge, and that's how the whole JONUM thing started to to appear. And in terms of law, it's like the 15th article of the law. So there are like 14 other articles about how an adult industry website should let in different persons, like based on the age, based on the verification, and so on. And then you have some stuff in the law about how a blockchain-related game or blockchain-related application may be classified as JONUM or not.
Okay. Okay, cool. And before we get into the more the specifics about the law, there's one thing I want to ask you about because all the articles I've been reading about it, it calls it the Sorare Law.
Yeah, it was called the Sorare Law because like the rumors are that Sorare did a lot of lobby around having a specific article being added. So in French, it's called an amendment. I don't know if that's the right term in the amendment. Like you add something to the law. Yeah. So there was an amendment by one of the congressmen, I think. Yeah, I think it was a congressman that added an amendment saying like, hey, by the way, if you are in this case, you should be like this, like that. And this amendment triggered a lots of discussion with the government, with the gaming authority in France. Decided to say like you cannot pass such an amendment. It will create a discrepancies in how the law is applied to games, and now it's applied to Web3 games and so on. And that's how it started to take shape around a proper definition of what a game with tradable assets, tradable digital assets, is supposed to be regulated. And specifically, Sorare has been under the scrutiny of some congressmen and women, and also on the scrutiny of the game authority, because there has been arguments that Sorare is actually just gambling with an extra step or disguised gambling, and that since it's like promoting the activity with the image of athletes and with powerful licenses like soccer and like baseball and so on.
Yeah.
It's typically something that young people that should be protected against being exposed to gambling games, they should be also protected to and not be able to access Sorare games and so on. So that's why it was initially put under the radar as a Sorare Law, but it has lots of other applications and lots of other reach, notably on most Web3 games. Actually, like if you have content that are represented as a digital assets and that content can be traded, you are potentially under this regulation.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask, because I find the distinction, like trying to make a distinction between games and gambling, especially within Web3, it's pretty tricky because, like you said, I mean, for most Web3 games or a lot of Web3 games, I mean, to participate in a game, you need to have or own a digital asset. So it means you already need to buy something. And then afterwards, when you want to engage with it, you can, put it on the marketplace to sell it. You could trade with others. And then that also, I mean, it's a sort of a gamble because either the crypto that you're using can go up, can go down and change and all that. So how are we supposed to make the distinction between games and gambling?
Well, first, it's not extra clear in the letter of the law as of yet, and the law is almost final, not completely final, because the way it works in France, it's a bicameral organization. We have the Assembly and the Senate, and the Assembly has the last word. But now the latest version is the Assembly version. And then there will be an extra step, another step with the Senate and the Assembly coming together and saying, okay, we agree on this, we agree on that. There is a special commission that will be formed to do that. And if they cannot agree on the final version, the Assembly will have the final say. Inside the law itself, when you want to qualify something as gambling, you need to have financial sacrifice. Like you need as a user to be faced with a financial sacrifice. That's how it's said in French. Like you are presented an opportunity, and you have to pay for this opportunity. So you sacrifice some financial goods. It's
that's anything that you spend money on. So
yeah, when you go play the lottery, you know that playing the lottery is going to cost you like 10 euro, for example, and this is your sacrifice financier, your financial sacrifice.
pretty funny.
I'm not sure how to frame it exactly in English, because yeah, it's close to the to low speech. You know, you're like, okay,
Yeah, I
that's
feel like that's very long.
that's how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be to be represented.
Okay. Financial sacrifice.
Like you know you are going to you accept the loss with the expectation of a gain.
Yeah.
So you have financial sacrifice with the expectation of a gain, and that's how you are supposed to. That's how you're supposed to initially qualify as gambling or not. So when you go play the roulette, you're like, okay, I'm putting 10 euro on the red, and I know that I have this odd of doubling my bet and so on. So financial sacrifice and expectation of gain is typically what we call bet, and when there is a bet, there is gambling, and so on.
Okay. So that's
now inside the law itself and within the definition of JONUM, it's not clear as of yet how the games will be qualified as such or not. It's most likely, in my opinion, the case that the gaming authority will either look at who is being registered, like who is coming in the front and say like, hey, I want to be registered as a JONUM, and this is how I do it, and they will say you're not, or you're one, you're a JONUM, you're not a JONUM. That's one case, and it is very likely as well that this authority will simply go after a popular game and saying, hey, hello, sir, you are a JONUM, you didn't comply, so here is a fine first. Now shut down everything and now register. And if we accept you, we will do this, and we do that.
okay. And so the JONUM law, does that, from what I read, it's only for Web3 games produced in France.
Well, there's something that's missing in the letter of the law, in my opinion. Like we've been consulted as an industry in France, like us, Cometh. We had the opportunity to chat with different congressmen and congresswomen, like that requested our comments on the different things. Also, there is an organization in France called ADAN, ADAN, that it's like a public lobby. Like many Web3 companies are member of ADAN, and Ethereum France is member of ADAN as well. And this public organization is regularly consulted on the topic. And one thing that we pushed as an industry is the fact that it should have clear mention inside the law that the digital asset, the famous objet numérique, a numerical object or digital asset, they should be stored on the blockchain.
Okay.
And we have a legal definition of a blockchain in the French law, which is a dispositif d'enregistrement électronique partagé, so a digital shared ledger.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So this is the case in the law since 2016, because since 2016 you are legally it's legal for you as a company to write your to do your bookkeeping and write the bookkeeping of your shares and among your different shareholders and some different types of bonds as well. If I remember correctly, you are allowed to write them in the blockchain and keep track of them in the blockchain, and that's what created afterwards the regulation that we have on digital asset service providers and so on. And so, notably for JONUM, there is no clear mention of this blockchain definition inside the law. So I think it's a pity that it wasn't integrated properly.
Okay.
But it's typically aiming at Web3 games. And it's, well, I don't know if some people will some project will go the JONUM direction without really integrating blockchain at all. But it would have been important for the industry just to say like, hey, this is a specific thing for Web3 stuff. So you cannot use that if you're not doing any Web3 stuff. And yes, it has its ups and downs, but at least it's a regulation that we can have guarantees that it will be in place for a couple of years, and it will give us clarity on how to operate and so on. But right now, we don't have a clear distinction between Web3 and not Web3 inside JONUM. There may be companies that are stamped as JONUM and not Web3. We'll see.
All right. So then how are we going to position? Because we have our upcoming next generation trading card game, Cosmic Battle.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do with Cosmic Battle for JONUM?
I'm not 100% sure what are the best next steps for us in this context. What's for sure is that we are still going to publish and still going to move forward with the game as it is, and now as we have designed it in the first place. So that means we are not going to make any changes on our ambition regarding that. The question for me, the thing that's unclear for me mostly is, should we register right now, even if the thing is not in place? Should we wait for it to be in place to actually publish? I don't think we should do that. Should we just publish and then try to discuss and see how it works? It's most likely the case that we will publish before the full system is in place.
Okay.
So in terms of impact for us, it's probably neutral.
Okay.
And we have the capacity to be very flexible on different enforcing of value stuff that JONUM may bring already in our endpoints. So it won't have in the worst case scenario, it won't have much impact for us.
Okay, cool. And then for the for the things that they're gonna, I'm assuming what they're gonna enforce naturally would be age verification, like you mentioned earlier.
Yes, indeed. If you have a law that says we are going to protect the kids, not saying hardcore porn website, people say, yeah, well, looks good to me. Like, let's vote for clean air next, or let's vote for better health and less death, things like this. Like it's fairly easy, and that's most of the articles of the law, and blockchain still has a sulfurous reputation in among the lawmakers. We have Congress persons that are listening to us and welcoming us and being curious about what we do. But it's always I think it's always more rewarding politically to be on the protection of the end consumer side than being on the protection of the emergence of an industry and the protection of the few jobs that are at stake in this context. So sadly, if we were making cars, it would be much better. I think we will have a much better impact.
Yeah.
But overall, the impact on growth and innovation in Web3 games in France is probably going to be close to zero. It's going to have an impact for big game makers. Like I think about the Ubisoft that are in France that are considering doing things in Web3. They will now have something to consider when they are about to publish Web3 games. I hope it will be for the best, since similarly to what we had in the financial industry, whenever you want to do something blockchain related, the legal department has a lot of power to say we don't do it, we don't do that, let's shut it down, and so on. Notably because of the reputation, but also because of the lack of regulation clarity. Now with JONUM, at least the law department, the legal department of Ubisoft and so on will be able to say that we can do, that we cannot do, that we can say, and so on. So like all the time, like when a new regulation that's blockchain that's targeting blockchain come into place, it's always a bad news because we are out of the gray zone. So suddenly it's there is a light in the room, so we can see how dirty the room is. But at least we are able to walk the room without hitting our knees and so on. So that's all right.
But how, the one thing I still don't really, like, don't get is that how we're going to actually enforce it, though. We'll say JONUM goes through, there are regulations, age verification or influencers not being able to share, but how are we going to actually influence, how are we going to actually enforce age verification in our games online?
So in our case, pretty easily. We have a strategic partnership with a payment service provider. Like it hasn't been announced publicly yet, so I cannot disclose who it is. But we have a strong partner with us in this project. So if someone come to play and the game is free to play to begin with, we don't have to do any verification for a free to play game. At the moment of the person starts to buy something in game, and that something is related to a digital asset that's tradable, a digital game asset that's tradable, we may or may not be qualified as JONUM in this context. If that's the case, we need to verify the person's age at this stage. So we need to make sure that if we are JONUM, if we are a JONUM, we need to make sure that the person that pay for a game asset that will be tradable are all
legal age.
Legal age. So we enforce that at the credit card verification stage. So typically you put your credit card and you buy something, and we verify through the credit card provider that you are 18 and over. Funnily enough, that was also the case, the solution suggested for porn website. So in order to verify that you are above age when you are visiting an adult entertainment website, the adult entertainment website, if they detect a French IP address, will ask you, like, can you put your credit card? Yeah. Well,
really?
I'm not sure many people will be happy to give away their credit card number, even if that's just for age verification. Just for the first, you never know if the website is legit or not. So always be cautious when you put your credit card number on the website. Probably more if you put your credit card number on an adult entertainment website. But moreover, like if I'm fond of porn video of people wearing jeans, like do I want my credit card provider to know that I'm giving away my credit card number on those websites? Like there's a sense of privacy that needs to be enforced in this context.
Yeah.
So we have solutions we are constructing solutions in the Web3 industry to be able to selectively disclose some information about ourselves. I'm thinking about the French project called Sismo, and Adrien, the founder, did. I worked with Adrien, the founder, when I was at Consensus back in the days, and they are using zero knowledge proofs to be able to say, like, hey. Here is a zero knowledge proof that will prove to you that this wallet that's connecting to your website is actually a wallet that's owned by someone that's more than 18.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's really cool.
And this really cool thing can completely be added to our account abstraction solution. So Potentially, we have a way to apply blockchain uh, traditional cutting-edge blockchain tools like Eigen abstraction to a website that have zero blockchain component. But I will
Wow,
feel
that's really interesting.
I will feel much better going on an adult entertainment website, logging in with my wallet, saying you don't know who I am, but here is
But here I am.
a proof. Yeah, I'm 0x blah blah blah, and here is a zero knowledge proof that I'm actually legal age. And that's cool.
Actually, awesome. No, that's really cool, especially well, in particular for also Web3. I mean, the basis of Web3 also is anonymity and all that, and
Mm.
that you're able to verify you're of legal age, but still not show off who you are or anything.
Yep. So you would go on such a solution provider and say like, hey, I'm registering. Here is a picture of me with my ID and something like this.
Yeah.
And now, whenever you want to connect, you can selectively disclose that your ID has been verified, and you don't have to disclose who you are at all. That's cool. Yeah.
So maybe a bit early to ask you this, but for those who don't know, so Cometh, we're a game studio that's creating Cosmic Battle, and then we also have our tech activity, Web3 development platform, which you already mentioned, the account abstraction, which is Cometh Connect. But we have clients. So how will we help our clients? Like, how do we position ourselves? Is there going to be a service we can give our clients who have Web3 that are going to be part of JONUM for them to be able to verify age?
It's up to them to make a decision whether they want to go with being proactive on being under the JONUM regulation.
Okay.
They are likely in the same situation as we do, even if some of them are much bigger, large groups that have a big legal department that must have been following this pretty closely. We will have a lot of discussions together. Like I expect, whenever the finalized version of the law is passed, which will be in the next couple of weeks, I expect to have lots of discussion about the topic. So as I mentioned before, we have the capacity to be very modular and flexible on the stack that we distribute and that we use. So we've been preparing ourselves for the worst.
Okay.
That's the anti-fragile approach of blockchain overall. Like we are able to react to tsunamis, and I expect rain, but not a heavy rain with JONUM.
Yeah.
So it's going to be all right.
Thank you for that. I just have one last question for you, and this is more, I guess, I'm asking you to use your Oracle skills. So give us a clue. Obviously, I mean, this idea of Web3, NFTs is obviously, it's causing questions to governments and countries all over the world, and like how it's new, right? Anytime anything new comes along, changes are to be put in place. So do you think that what France is doing right now is going to have broader impact outside of Europe as well, but just globally? Is there other movements that are similar in governments?
I really don't expect another large group of country or large country to enforce anything similar to JONUM. Europe has had this tendency of regulating first, and also the way the law is built is completely different than how it is in the US. Like we don't have a lot of we don't build the cases with jurisprudences. Like there is another approach in Europe overall. So I think it will be Europe the main impact for sure. But it will also, let's dream a little bit. It will maybe protect the European market for European makers.
Okay.
Why not? I mean, if you are, let's say you are doing something like us. Okay, you are Axie Infinity. You are publishing Axie Infinity. Then probably the French authority will tell you like, hey, you cannot distribute this game on our soil, or you create a French entity and you register as a JONUM. Should Axie Infinity be considered a JONUM? Like, but again,
Okay.
I'm not sure. But
Okay, yeah.
let's say Sorare is a JONUM. Like, probably that's probably going to be the case, or they will register themselves as a JONUM. And now there is again that's similar to JONUM that's doing the same thing in France. They will ask the same type of regulation for this project to have the same type of scrutiny and the same type of regulation and so on.
Thank you for this. I guess that puts an end to our first episode. I guess we'll see you next time we have another piece of news to discuss.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Talk to you soon.